Today we're going to talk about skin cancers, in particular basal cell carcinoma and squamous cell carcinoma, and the second session we'll deal with malignant melanoma. So basal cell carcinoma, it is also called rodent ulcer or tear cancer. It is a low-grade, locally invasive carcinoma of pluripotential epithelial cells arising from the basal epidermis and hair follicles of skin or mucocutaneous junction. So it's a locally invasive malignancy of pluripotent cells arising from the basal epidermis and the hair follicles of skin or mucocutaneous junction. It is the commonest skin cancer. Commonest site, that is 90% of the basal cell carcinoma, is seen in the face above the line joining the angle of the mouth and the ear lobule. That's the Ongrain line. The predisposing factors: exposure to ultraviolet radiation is one of the strongest risk factors. Exposure to chemicals like arsenic, coal tar, aromatic hydrocarbons, exposure to ionizing radiation, genetic cancer symptoms like xeroderma pigmentosa. It is more common in males, more common in white skinned individuals, and more common in middle aged and elderly individuals. So these are the predisposing factors. The common sites, in addition to what I mentioned, 90% is above the face. Of them, the sites, the inner canthus of the eye, outer canthus of the eye, the nose, around the nasolabial fold, that being the reason for it being called the tear cancer. On the forehead. Then other locations include the scalp, neck, arms and hands. Spread, it is a locally malignant lesion. It erodes deeply into the local tissues like the skin, subcutaneous tissue, cartilage, bone and muscle, causing extensive local destruction, and hence the name rodent ulcer. It rarely metastasizes. It does not spread through lymphatics or bloodstream. So it's basically a locally invasive malignancy. Regarding the pathology, on macroscopy, the lesions can be of two types. You can have generalized lesions and localized lesions. Localized lesions may be either nodular, cystic, nodulocystic, pigmented, and nevoid. Then another way of describing macroscopically is the superficial type and the infiltrated type. Infiltrated type may be further into morphic type, icepick type, cicatrizing type, etc. Now microscopy, it is characterized by nests of ovoid cells with a single palisading layer. So nests of ovoid cells with a single palisading layer, that is the characteristic histologic feature of basal cell carcinoma. So these are the various lesions you can see: the pigmented type, nodular type, nodulocystic, cyst. Now clinical features, it is more common in middle-aged and elderly individuals. It's more common in males. It presents as an ulcer or nodule on the face commonly. It is a slow-growing, painless, non-tender, irregular shaped lesion which ulcerates with raised and pearly white beaded edges and a central scab. If untreated, it invades and erodes into the muscle, cartilage and bone. The base of the ulcer is formed either by fat, muscle or bone, depending on the depth of the ulcer. If nodule does not ulcerate, it becomes large and may look cystic. Now regional lymph nodes are usually not enlarged. Differential diagnosis: squamous cell carcinoma, malignant melanoma, keratoacanthoma, seborrheic keratosis. These are few of the differential diagnosis. Investigation for any skin lesion is a wedge biopsy to begin with, an X-ray of the part depending on the location, and then a CT scan or MRI if you wish to look for local relations of the lesion. The prognosis. So there are some features which categorize a basal cell carcinoma into a high risk variety. If the size is more than 2 cm, if the site is near the eye or the nose or the ear, if it has ill-defined margins, and if it's a recurrent tumor or if the person or the patient is an immunosuppressed individual. All these suggest it's a high risk type of basal cell carcinoma. The treatment: radiotherapy and surgery. So, radiotherapy, basal cell carcinoma is radiosensitive, and radiotherapy cures 90% of all basal cell carcinoma. But, however, it cannot be used when the lesion is close to the eye, ear, or nose, or on the back of the hand, or when it is adherent to cartilage or bone. Surgery is done for rodent ulcers eroding into cartilage or bone, or if the lesion is close to the eye, nose, ear, or if it's a recurrent basal cell carcinoma after radiotherapy. And then the preferred surgery is wide excision with a margin of at least 4 to 6 mm clearance with skin grafting or primary closure or primary suturing, or a flap is the procedure of choice. So you can either excise and suture it, or you can excise and graft it, or you can excise and place a flap to cover the defect. Now, another way of taking care of the lesion is the Mohs micrographic surgery. So, Mohs means microscopically oriented histographic surgery. Mohs. It's a method used by dermatological surgeons to excise skin cancers under microscopic control. So, here they take slices of the skin lesion and they repeatedly check under the microscope to look for whether you have got a negative margin or not. So until you get a negative margin, you go on excising the lesions repeatedly. So this way you need not excise more than what is required. You can minimize the amount of normal tissue that you excise unnecessarily. So it is done for basal cell carcinoma with ill-defined margins, recurrent basal cell carcinoma, and also in the case of basal cell carcinoma near eye, nose, or ear. Now other methods have also been described: cryosurgery, laser surgery, topical treatment with 5-fluorouracil or imiquimod. Now here I would like to point out one thing. Whenever a lesion is excised, only then you will get some tissue for assessment. In methods like cryosurgery, there is no tissue available for histopathological analysis. The tissue itself is destroyed. Now saying this, we move on to the second type, that is squamous cell carcinoma. It's also called epithelioma or epidermoid carcinoma. Squamous cell carcinoma is a carcinoma of the cells of the epidermis. It is the second most common skin cancer. It usually occurs in a pre-existing, predisposing lesion, but sometimes it can occur de novo in the skin. So it's more common in immunosuppressed individuals or those on immunosuppressive drugs like azathioprine. The predisposing factors: exposure to ultraviolet rays, the presence of premalignant lesions like Bowen's disease, senile keratosis, lupus vulgaris, leukoplakia. This has been dealt with in another class. Now, long-standing chronic ulcers or scars like Burns scar or venous scar or lupus vulgaris scar, etc., can result in squamous cell carcinoma known as marginal ulcer. Exposure to prolonged irritation by chemicals like dyes and tar can also result in squamous cell carcinoma. Genetic cancer syndromes like xeroderma pigmentosa, previous exposure to irradiation, exposure to viruses like human papillomavirus 16 and 18. So all these are the known predisposing factors for the development of squamous cell carcinoma. The common sites include the dorsum of the hand, face, limb, and skin of the abdominal wall. Mucocutaneous junctions like the lip, nostrils, eyelids, penis, and vulva. Mucous membrane lined by stratified squamous epithelium like the oral cavity, esophagus, and vagina. Now, areas of columnar epithelium like the bronchus, gallbladder may undergo metaplasia and then develop squamous cell carcinoma. Areas of transitional epithelium like urinary bladder again may undergo metaplasia and then develop squamous cell carcinoma. So these are the sites of squamous cell carcinoma all over the body. So the pathology, macroscopically there are three types. You have the ulcerative type and the proliferative type, and then you have the ulcero-proliferative type. Microscopically, the slides show whorls of malignant squamous cells with the characteristic epithelial or keratin pearls. So you have whorls of cells with epithelial or keratin pearls. Second, you will see infiltration of the dermis by chronic inflammatory cells like plasma cells. So these two are the features of squamous cell carcinoma on microscopy. Now, broader classification for the same. So it is classified into well differentiated, moderately differentiated, poorly differentiated, and undifferentiated. It depends on the amount of squamous pearls or keratin pearls seen. So well differentiated means that 75% or more pearls are seen. Moderately differentiated means 50 to 75%, and poorly means 25 to 50%, and undifferentiated means presence of less than 25% keratin pearls. Now regarding the spread, here local spread is seen. Lymphatic spread, that is spread to the regional lymph nodes, are common, and the nodes become hard, nodular, and fixed. Now blood spread occurs very rarely and is usually seen in the very late or advanced stage. So unlike basal cell carcinoma, lymphatic spread is a common mode of spread and blood spread is a rare mode of spread. Clinical features, it's usually seen above 40 years of age and the incidence increases with age. So I told you earlier it may present de novo or it usually may present a pre-existing predisposed lesion. So it presents as a painless nodule or ulcer with a bloody discharge of 1 or few months duration. Begins as a nodule which then ulcerates in the central area to form an ulcer with raised and everted edges and indurated base. In later stages, the ulcer becomes fixed to the muscle or bone. Regional lymph nodes are usually enlarged. Now, earlier mentioned, in the case of chronic venous scars or burn scars or chronic vulgaris lesions, you may develop a type of squamous cell carcinoma known as Marjolins ulcer. Now, here the typical thing here is that if a squamous cell carcinoma develops in a chronic scar, it is usually not associated with any regional lymph node enlargement. Differential diagnosis: basal cell carcinoma, malignant melanoma, keratoacanthoma, actinic keratosis, and pyogenic granuloma are some of the common differential diagnosis. Again, diagnosis is by wedge biopsy from the edge. If you have enlarged lymph nodes, you can go for an FNAC. Similarly, a CT scan or ultrasound scan also can be done to assess the lymphatic involvement as well as the local invasion of the lesion. Now, the features that suggest high risk type of squamous cell carcinoma: size about 2 cm, depth more than 2 mm, ill-defined borders, poorly differentiated grade, perineural or lymphovascular invasion, and the presence of immunosuppression in the patient or individual. These all suggest high risk type of squamous cell carcinoma. The treatment: surgery is one of the preferred treatment of choice. Wide excision of the primary lesion with a 2 cm clearance, followed by skin grafting or flap cover. It is indicated in large lesions or lesions involving muscle, cartilage, or bone, and also in the case of recurrence after radiotherapy. In case of squamous cell carcinoma involving the finger, toe, or penis, amputation is done. Radiotherapy: squamous cell carcinoma is also radiosensitive. Radiotherapy cures 80% of early lesions. So it is indicated in small lesions in squamous cell carcinoma not involving cartilage, muscle, or bone, and when the patient is not fit for surgery. Secondary lymph nodes: usually if the nodes are positive, a block dissection is done. If nodes are fixed, then palliative external radiotherapy is done. Chemotherapy or field therapy using cryoprobe can also be tried. So this is a picture showing the normal mold, squamous cell carcinoma with the raised and everted edges and indurated base. a basal cell carcinoma, and a malignant melanoma. Thank you.